So, some time ago I saw this video by TGS Anime, pondering the question if Joey Wheeler really did beat Yugi in their post-Battle City duel to reclaim his Red Eyes Black Dragon. Since we never see this duel on screen, we don't know the answer to this question. But TGS's video got me thinking, how could that duel have played out? So, I began writing this very script, fantasy booking this rematch between two best friends. For clarity, I will be using their Battle City decks to the best of my ability/knowledge, though it is possible I'll either miss some cards or include cards that weren't in their Battle City decks to either A, make the duel work, or B, because I'm an idiot. I also want to mention that, again, this video was heavily inspired by TGS Anime, so you may recognize the format of this video, as it is structured in a somewhat similar manner to his duel analysis videos. Without further ado, to quote TGS Anime, let's jump into the duel. Before the duel begins, Yugi tells Joey to go first, encouraging his friend to show him what he's got. Joey, being Joey, takes this invitation without a second thought. He draws for his opening hand, which consists of Swordsman of Landstar, Battle Warrior, Axe Raider, Graceful Dice, Skull Dice, and Nutrient Z. He summons Swordsman of Landstar into attack, sets Graceful Dice and Skull Dice face down, and ends his turn. It's Yugi's first turn, and he draws. His opening hand consists of Alpha the Magnet Warrior, Big Shield Gardener, Dark Magician Girl, Obelisk the Tormentor, Exchange, and Mirror Force. Yugi, having a pretty good idea of what Joey has face down, summons Big Shield Gardener into the fence, sets his Mirror Force trap face down, and ends his turn. It's back to Joey, and he draws Rocket Warrior. He summons Rocket Warrior into attack and uses it to attack into Big Shield Gardener. Thanks to Rocket Warrior's effect, no damage is dealt to Joey. Big Shield Gardener's detrimental effect triggers, and it switches itself into attack mode. Joey now attacks with Swordsman of Landstar, and activates Graceful Dice to boost its attack. He rolls a 5, boosting Swordsman's attack to 2500, meaning if the attack lands, Yugi will take 2400 points of damage. Yugi responds by activating Mirror Force, stopping the attack and destroying both of Joey's monsters. Joey, without monsters to defend himself, sets Nutrient Z face down and ends his turn. It's now back to Yugi, who draws his next card, Soul Taker. Able to go on the offensive with Joey's field empty of monsters, he tributes Big Shield Gardener to summon his Dark Magician Girl. He attacks Joey directly, but Joey activates Skull Dice. He rolls a 2, meaning Dark Magician Girl's attack is cut in half. The attack lands, and Joey takes the first damage of the duel, reducing his life points to 3000. As Yugi ends his turn, Dark Magician Girl's attack returns to normal, as Skull Dice's effect wears off. It's Joey's turn, and he draws Pot of Greed. He plays it, allowing him to draw 2 new cards. He gets Guilford the Lightning and Legendary Sword. Joey, having just drawn into Legendary Sword, summons Axe Raider into attack and equips it with Legendary Sword, raising its attack from 1700 to 2100. He uses his empowered Axe Raider to attack and destroy Dark Magician Girl, dealing 100 damage to Yugi. Joey ends his turn, turning the duel back over to Yugi. Yugi draws and gets Card Destruction. Having very little options, Yugi summons Alpha the Magnet Warrior into defense and plays Card Destruction. Both players now discard their hands and redraw that same amount of cards. Joey discards Battle Warrior and Guilford the Lightning, getting Monster Reborn and Panther Warrior in return. Yugi discards Obelisk the Tormentor, Soul Taker, and Exchange, and in return he gets Polymerization, Gazelle the King of Mythical Beasts, and Karibo. Having essentially drawn 2 bricks and a Karibo, Yugi has no further plays and is forced to end his turn. With a fresh hand, Joey draws and gets Gamble. He uses Monster Reborn to bring back Guilford the Lightning. He attacks over Alpha the Magnet Warrior with his still empowered Axe Raider, dealing no damage since Alpha was in defense, and follows this up with a direct attack from Guilford the Lightning, dealing 2800 damage to Yugi, who chooses not to use the effect of Karibo in his hand for now. With Yugi's life points reduced to a mere 1100, but no further plays to be made, Joey sets Gamble face down and ends his turn. It's back to Yugi again, who needs to make a play to keep himself in the duel. He draws and gets Card of Sanctity. He activates it immediately, allowing both players to draw until they each hold 6 cards. From this, Joey draws 5 cards: Scapegoat, Alligator Sword, Gearfried the Iron Knight, Little Wingard, and the Legendary Fisherman. Yugi, drawing 3 cards, gets Baphomet, Defusion, and Monster Reborn. This is a perfect draw for Yugi, who immediately activates Polymerization, fusing Baphomet and Gazelle to make Chimera, the flying mythical beast. At this point, Joey points out the Chimera is no match for either Guilford the Lightning nor the still empowered Axe Raider. Yugi says that's true, but that he never intended to use Chimera for battle. Instead, he plays Defusion, splitting Chimera back into Gazelle and Baphomet. The point of this dance? Getting 2 monsters on the field. Yugi plays Monster Reborn, and from the grave, he brings back Obelisk the Tormentor, facing Joey with an Egyptian god card. He activates Obelisk's ability, tributing Gazelle and Baphomet to pay its cost. Obelisk attacks, dealing 4000 damage to everything on Joey's side of the field, going for game. The effect is successful, destroying Guilford the Lightning, Axe Raider, and the equipped legendary sword. However, Joey survives the attack as he activates his face-down Nutrient Z. He gains 4000 life points, raising his total to 7000 before Obelisk's attack brings it back down to 3000. As Yugi is forced to end his turn, Obelisk, since Egyptian god cards are only affected by spells and traps for 1 turn, returns to the graveyard, leaving Yugi's field empty once again and only Karibo in his hand. Joey, having just survived an encounter with Obelisk, begins his next turn. He draws and gets Time Wizard. He summons Gearfried the Iron Knight into attack and immediately tries to attack Yugi directly for game. Yugi, however, discards Karibo, negating any damage he would have taken and keeping him in this duel for another turn. Joey, unable to make any other plays, sets Polymerization and Scapegoat face down and ends his turn. It's back to Yugi, whose back is firmly against the wall. He draws and gets Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight. He summons it without tribute, thanks to it being the only card in his hand. He attacks over Gearfried the Iron Knight, dealing 500 damage to Joey, reducing his life points to 2500. With an empty hand, Yugi ends his turn. It's Joey's turn, and he draws Jinzo. Unable to summon a monster strong enough to get over Gaia, Joey summons Little Wingard into defense and ends his turn. Yugi draws for his turn, getting Pot of Greed. He activates it, allowing him to draw 2 new cards. He gets Beta the Magnet Warrior and Double Spell. He summons Beta the Magnet Warrior into attack and uses Gaia to destroy Little Wingard, as Beta would be unable to do so. He then attempts to attack directly with Beta, but Joey activates Scapegoat, summoning 4 sheep tokens to his side of the field. A replay occurs, and Beta destroys one of the sheep tokens before Yugi ends his turn. It's now back to Joey again, who draws and gets Insect Queen, a proper brick of a card. Joey summons Panther Warrior into attack, tributes one of the 3 sheep tokens he has left, and attacks over Beta the Magnet Warrior, dealing 300 damage to Yugi and bringing his life points down to just 800. Joey ends his turn here. Yugi draws and gets Gamma the Magnet Warrior. He summons Gamma into defense and uses Gaia to destroy Panther Warrior, dealing 300 damage to Joey, reducing his life points to 2200. He ends his turn by setting Double Spell face down. It's Joey's turn again, and he draws and gets Roll of Fate. A quick note, we only see Joey use this card in Season 4 in his duel against Valon, and in Season 5 against both Abnarg Odom and Siegfried von Schröder. So I'm not sure if he would have this card at this point in the series, however it does help me with the writing of this duel, so I'm gonna say he has it in his deck here. Joey, not wanting to waste Time Wizard just yet, plays Roll of Fate, allowing him to roll a dice and to draw however many cards he rolls, but forcing him to mill that same amount of cards from the top of his deck to the graveyard. Joey rolls a 3, and he draws 3 cards and gets Negate Attack, Baby Dragon, and Grave Robber, before milling 3 mysterious cards from the top of his deck. Again, quick note, I also know that Joey does not use Negate Attack ever. Again, it helps me write this duel in a way that makes sense, so for this duel, he has it. Why? Because I said so. Continuing his turn, Joey summons Baby Dragon into defense, sets Negate Attack and Grave Robber face down, and ends his turn. It's back to Yugi, who draws and gets Graceful Charity. Yugi decides to use Double Spell, which in the anime lets him use any number of spell cards Joey used on his last turn. In this case, that's only Roll of Fate. So, Yugi rolls and gets a 5. The 5 cards he draws from this effect are Queen's Knight, King's Knight, Swords of Revealing Light, Electromagnetic Turtle, and Joey's own Red Eyes Black Dragon. After milling 5 cards from his deck, Yugi tributes both Gaia and Gamma to summon Red Eyes Black Dragon. He uses Red Eyes to attack Baby Dragon, but Joey plays Negate Attack to stop the attack and end Yugi's battle phase. Yugi, with his attack having failed and sensing Joey's next move, sets Swords of Revealing Light face down and ends his turn. To quickly give an update on the duel here. At this point, Yugi has 800 life points left, Red Eyes Black Dragon on the field with Swords of Revealing Light face down, and a hand of Queen's Knight, King's Knight, Electromagnetic Turtle, and Graceful Charity. Joey, on the other hand, has 2200 life points, a field of Baby Dragon, Polymerization, Grave Robber, and Gamble face down, and a hand of Jinzo, Insect Queen, the Legendary Fisherman, Time Wizard, and Alligator Sword. Back to the duel. It's Joey's turn again. He draws and gets Guruzis. Another brick, but that doesn't matter. He summons Time Wizard from his hand and activates its effect, Time Roulette. Yes, I'm going with the rule for Time Wizard that you actually have to summon it. Is this accurate for this time in the anime? Quite frankly, I am not 100% sure, but I'm going with it. The effect of Time Wizard works, aging every monster on the field by 1,000 years. This has the following effect. Red Eye's Black Dragon is destroyed, the 2 remaining sheep tokens from Scapegoat die, as sheep don't live to be 1,000 years, and most importantly, Baby Dragon evolves into Thousand Dragon. Joey isn't done, however, as Yugi still has something that belongs to him. He flips over Grave Robber, using it to special summon Red Eye's Black Dragon from Yugi's graveyard back to his side of the field, reuniting Joey with his ace monster. Joey declares an attack with Red Eyes, attempting to go for game, but Yugi activates Swords of Revealing Light, preventing Joey from attacking for 3 turns. Joey is forced to end his turn here. It's back to Yugi, who has given himself some much needed breathing room. He draws and gets Buster Blader. He summons Queen's Knight into defense and ends his turn there. It's Joey's turn, and he draws Lightning Blade. Unable to do anything as his hand is basically filled with bricks, he simply ends his turn right there. For Yugi's turn, he draws and gets Diffusion Wave Motion. He summons King's Knight into defense and then special summons Jack Knight into defense, as Queen's Knight and King's Knight are both on the field. Having no further plays, Yugi ends his turn. It's Joey's turn, and in a nod to TGS anime, the penultimate turn of the duel. Joey draws and gets Foolish Burial. Having once again bricked his draw and unable to attack, he simply ends his turn. It's back to Yugi for the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets Beast of Gilfer. He tributes his King's Knight and Queen's Knight to summon Buster Blader into attack. He then plays Graceful Charity, allowing him to draw 3 new cards at the cost of discarding 2. He draws and gets 7 Tools of the Bandit, Slifer the Sky Dragon, and Dark Magician. In return, he discards Beast of Gilfer and Electromagnetic Turtle. He continues his turn by attacking Thousand Dragon with Buster Blader. Seeing as there are 2 dragons on Joey's field, as well as Baby Dragon in his graveyard, Buster Blader's attack is increased by 1500, rising from 2600 all the way to 4100. With Thousand Dragon having 2400 attack points, Joey would survive this attack, losing 1700 life points, leaving him with 500, and a chance for a comeback on his next turn. However, from the graveyard, Yugi reveals or activates the effect of his discarded Beast of Gilfer, weakening Thousand Dragon by exactly 500 points, the perfect amount Yugi needs to win this duel. The attack is successful, and Joey's life points drop to 0. Joey, with Red Eyes by his side, loses the duel. Now, Joey didn't win this fantasy book duel, and thus hasn't really reclaimed Red Eyes. However, I'm gonna go with TGS Anime's proposed ending to this encounter. Joey, after the duel, offers Red Eyes back to Yugi. As in this stage of the anime, since Joey stole Red Eyes with Grave Robber, it would now be in his deck / field / graveyard. But Yugi declines it, saying Joey's earned it back in their duel, and that it is his card once more. Joey, somewhat reluctantly, accepts Red Eyes back, saying in typical Joey fashion he'll get Yugi next time. The two share a laugh, and Yugi heads home to his grandpa for breakfast as he'd promised he'd be back in time. Joey joins him, because why not surprise Grandpa Muto with another mouth to feed at breakfast? So, that's it. By far the longest script I've ever written, and arguably the most complex video I've ever edited. I'm looking at my editing timeline and I can't even begin to express the happiness I feel at finally having this video done. It was certainly an experience and something very much new to me, but I can say for certain it was worth it. It gave me the opportunity to truly create something from quote-unquote nothing. Whereas before I always had numbers, storylines, and statistics to go off of when writing any script. It allowed me to lean into my true nerd side without restricting myself and just allowing my imagination to truly flow. It's given me tremendous confidence to just be who I am. And as much as it's a reach to think he'll ever see this, I have to once again thank Sam from TGS Anime for being the inspiration for this entire video. Without me seeing his hypothesis video, I'd likely never even have thought of writing this script. What's now next for me on this journey? Honestly, Not a clue. But one thing I know is I'll continue to be nerdy, to embrace who I truly am, to write scripts and make videos, not because I feel I have to, but just because I want to. That's not to say that baseball will disappear from this channel, just that other things will be added. Well, that's all the thoughts I got for now. If you liked this video, feel free to like and subscribe. It would really help this channel grow. And I hope to see you all very soon. Have a good one.